What's that guy's name? Hardwick. Are we recording this? All right. It's my turn.
How do you do? We're about to unfold the story of
Ghost of Frankenstein.
My son, would you destroy that which I, your father, dedicated his life to creating? What if it had another brain?
Whose brain?
Your brain.
Power! What good is a brain without eyes to see?
I warned you that you might regret this action.
Well, we've warned you.
You have been warned. Welcome back to Frankenstein Minute, the podcast that dissects the universal Frankenstein film series minute by minute. I'm Bill Evenson.
That it does, Bill Evenson, and I'm Thom Lang.
Doesn't it, though?
It does,
Doesn't
indeed.
it just, though?
But this is the, you must remember this podcast then, because that's kind of how she reads stuff.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
And we are doing what?
We're doing minute 35 of 1942's The Ghost of Frankenstein. The minute begins in silence, and when I watched it on my TV, I thought maybe I had accidentally muted it.
Yeah.
Because it is absolute dead silence for about 10 seconds.
I actually thought that just now.
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed it when I was watching it by myself, preparing for this, but when we watched it, yeah.
Yeah, it's like dead silence.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It's like the mirror scene from Duck Soup, where there's
Yeah.
virtually no sound
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Even when there's guys dancing around and stuff.
There's not even the hiss of the soundtrack. It is dead silence. You're in outer space.
Yep.
It's so silent. Yeah. Junior sinks down. We both laughed at it.
Yeah, it was funny partly
it's
to me. It was
because
partly because of the silence, actually.
Yes, because the dead silence, and he just sort of
Boom. Yeah, I hadn't noticed it before, but we had talked about that's how the last minute ended, and this one started. He's still going down. It takes a while for him to go down.
Well, it's the drugs.
Which is great. Yeah,
the drug has
it's not like it's soporific gas and he's
No,
gonna jump
he's out
around
like
and.
that. Yeah. I did notice when we watched it just now that there's some Christmas lights hanging in the background.
Yes, I noticed it. It's like in the shape of women's panties, I think I was going to say at one point.
Yes, exactly.
But as far as, yes, well, no, I can't go backwards, but I was going to say, as far as him going down on the table, when we watched it this morning.
Speaking of women's panties.
When we were watching it this morning, Jackie said he didn't go down so hard this time.
True.
Anyway, that didn't work because I should have thrown it in at the beginning. Anyways, Bomer enters.
Bomer enters.
And he looks the head over like he hasn't seen it before. He's like, wow, look at this head. Like, that's all he's doing. He's like fascinated with the head.
I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah. I could see that.
I mean, it is quite a good makeup job, so maybe.
It's an okay makeup job.
Well, I just mean compared to, I don't know.
Compared to some later ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Then, he crosses to Ludwig. Camera pushes into a two-shot as Bomer looks over Junior.
Well, I also wanted to say, and I don't know if this is the right time to say it, so I'm sorry if I'm interrupting your flow, which I seem to be doing exceptionally well this week.
Yeah, no.
I think the episode title should be "Get the Hell Out of My House" or something. But I like that Ludwig is able to subdue the monster for a second time. Like, from an audience perspective, we're convinced the monster's going to clobber him, but he's actually he's clever.
He's more clever.
It's not super clever what he does, but he's done it again. Like, he kind of, like, after me making a crack about him telling Elsa that, no, the monsters, don't worry about it, I took care of it. The police can't do anything, but look at me, I can do whatever I want. It's kind of true here. He's really, he's got this all figured out. He just had one moment where he busted through the restraints and he didn't even touch him. He came close.
He came close.
Yeah.
And he ducks
This
out
was
of the
no
way
Waldman
quickly.
situation, which we didn't, by the way. Remember, I thought we were going to go over the top with comparisons with the Waldman scene, but we never ever mentioned it. We mentioned it the one time.
It once.
Yeah.
Bomer, I need your aid.
Yeah, Bomer, I need your aid.
Thank you.
And he's so dry. Atwill's face is so, like, he reacts to this.
Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, like he's making this scene work with his face. He's got a really expressive face.
Atwill's a really good actor, and I think because of the types of films he's in, these horror movies and stuff, he does not always get the credit that he's due. He was fantastic as Krog.
Yep.
You know, if Lugosi hadn't been so good as Igor, Atwill could have easily walked away with that movie.
Yep. Well, they're barely ever in the same, or never, almost never in the same scene together, so they kind of both do.
Yeah, they kind of do.
I think.
Yeah.
But in this one, it's interesting too because I keep saying he's Sir Cedric Hardwicke. I assume, like you, this was well, we know because we read it in episode 1 of this podcast or whatever, that it's based on his stage work.
Yeah.
So he's got this illustrious career as an actor, and now he's in, how old is he here? We already said he's 40-something.
Yep. No, he's
45.
He's pushing 50, yeah.
think he was born in 18. I don't remember.
I said 1893.
Oh, okay. Well, then he's 50. So, or almost 50. So he's.
No, he's 51.
I don't know what time. He can't be 51. He was born in 93. That would be
so he's
43. So he's 49.
Yeah.
So he presumably is not looking at this. What's great about thinking about early movies, really, and TV shows too, and music as well, is this. I love that people don't really get the historical impact of what they're doing, right? They're just like, well, like I like to watch a documentary is about the Beatles or interviews with the Beatles. They're always trying to express like, well, I don't know, we didn't know what we were doing, and that's when those early interviews they're always asking them, how long do you think this could last?
Oh yeah,
and they're always like, I don't know, we'll be the famous one is Lennon says, we'll be lucky if it lasts 6 months.
Yeah.
Or we could be big-headed and say we're going to last 10 years. We'll be lucky if it lasts 6 months. And that's in 63 or 4. So what we have here is Sir Cedric Hardwicke is a knight of the realm due to his tremendous acting prowess.
Yeah.
But what he's best known for is Ghost of Frankenstein. So we've got this guy at the end of his career.
It's what we know him best for.
Well, that's probably true.
In the
annals of stage history,
pop culture, if that's what he's
and that's either way. He's not looking at this through that lens. He's like, this is a job. They're lucky to have me.
I think he's looking at it much the same way that Basil Rathbone looked at Son of Frankenstein. Is I'm above this.
You and I will never agree on Basil Rathbone and Son of Frankenstein.
I was going to say,
you say these things and I just fall down on the floor and think, what movie did you watch?
Let me finish my point.
All right.
I don't think that attitude shows in Rathbone's performance like it does here.
Okay.
I think they both thought they were slumming by being in this stupid monster picture, and Rathbone was able to rise above it because of who he was.
Yeah.
By all accounts, a very jolly man, a very always enthusiastic.
Do we have any accounts of Hardwicke? Was he a jolly man?
I've seen him be jolly in things.
I think he smoked a lot.
I've seen him be jolly in things and, have energy in things. Certainly, like I said, the Lodger.
Before he finds out his son is dead in Rope, he's pretty jolly.
Yeah.
For a minute,
Yeah, they're jovial. And
yeah. So anyways, my point being, as by contrast with Atwill is at a low point in his life, right?
Yes.
He's on probation for a sex scandal.
He's lucky to have this job.
Most
studios wouldn't hire him. I think Universal was the only one for the rest of his life that hired him.
Yeah. And so he
shows up in a lot of Universal horror films.
Well, the thing I wrote down, I was going to put it as the last thing I said for this minute, but we're already there. He's upstaging Hardwicke. He is the focus for me of this scene.
Absolutely.
And when I try to look at Hardwicke, it's painful because he's a professional who gets his lines right and looks where he's supposed to and stands where he's supposed to, but he's barely paying attention.
I think he's just underplaying it far too much.
Yeah, that could be.
That's my opinion of what he's doing here in the whole film.
Yeah.
He's just underplaying it to the point of it being distracting.
Yes, and sometimes it's effective because his character is supposed to be a little bit that way.
Yes.
All right.
Need your aid. Now, here's where a lot of this dialogue appeared elsewhere in the script by different character.
Yeah, bizarrely.
Yes. So what we have is...
I simultaneously think that the changes to the script make the film better and make me intrigued to wonder what that other movie could have been. Both at the same time.
Yeah.
Somehow.
So what has happened is, from this point moving forward, as soon as he asks for Boehmer's aid, the lines that Ludwig speaks were originally to be spoken by Elsa in the scene where she's in her bed. But they've been altered a little bit.
There's a couple of things that don't match up exactly, but we'll talk about those because they're important things.
They've been altered a little bit, and Ludwig is the one objecting to it, not Boehmer.
Yeah, it's an interesting take.
So, yes, I agree completely that I think the changes work to the film's betterment, but I would love to have seen that played out.
And the reason that I would love to have seen that played out is because there are implications to it that I bet this movie isn't smart enough to explore anyway.
Right,
so.
Yes, yes, exactly, yes.
I guess just to get down to brass tacks, Elsa seems like a bit of, maybe a manipulator almost, because she comes up, I don't know how you wanted to talk about this, but she comes up with the idea of dissection.
Yeah.
And Ludwig's like, what? Really?
can't do that.
I couldn't possibly.
Yeah.
So she comes off as maybe a little bit more of a I don't know.
I don't know if manipulator is the term, but more
Clearly the brains behind the.
Well, I think she's able to see it clearer than Ludwig is.
Maybe that's a better way of looking at it, and maybe it doesn't bring up the implication I was talking about, because I was thinking, does that now give Elsa a more interesting character? She's the woman in one of these movies, so she
Doesn't have a character.
in general is not required to not have a character.
Yeah.
And in this case, in this film, I would say that's more or less true.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to think that she would come up with an idea that is the spark for what her father's going to do going forward.
Right.
That's totally not what we see in this movie.
No. And I think had it played that way,
Yeah.
I think the logic behind her saying those things and coming up with that idea is this is all new to her.
Yeah.
She just discovered this 10 minutes ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas Ludwig has lived with this his whole life.
Yeah.
And so it would make sense for her to, well, let's just get rid of the fucking thing.
But
and Ludwig's, well, I can't do that.
Well, the only thing I would add to what you just said, though, is what we end up with is something slightly different than that, in my opinion, which is Ludwig is going back and forth. That last scene was, I must find a way. And was that last week he said that, or whatever, 2 minutes ago?
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
Now he's got the idea. He's got it all figured out.
Right.
And we don't know why that happens. It's fine, because Ludwig's smart, and dissection does make sense. Yeah. It's not the first time it's come up in this series.
It is not.
Although I did go and look through the subtitles. I have them all on the computer, and I can just search for the word dissect. And I remember, I was like, that word is in the first film, and I looked at it, and it's... it's unrelated. The reason that, but what it's not is in the subtitles. He writes it on his notes.
Yes, that's
I'm
right.
about to perform dissection.
That's right. Yep.
It's maybe an obvious idea, I guess, to us, because it happens in this film. It happens in this film, and it happened in that film, that someone thinks about doing it.
Yes.
It'd be kind of cool to see it actually play out, because I wonder, would we have the crawling hand,
individual parts still,
all that stuff? Yeah. I don't know. Did we cover the whole minute, or should we go back line by line?
This monster must be destroyed, and Bomer's destroyed. But how? He's not subject to ordinary laws of life.
By which he means death. What are the laws of life? Does he mean he doesn't have to eat? No, he eats.
No, he eats. I think it's...
What are the laws of life?
I'm not... In this instance, what he means is he wasn't born naturally, hasn't lived a normal life, progressing...
And can't be killed. Because one of the primary laws of life is death.
Yes.
And
I think the monster...
Thank goodness. Because, I mean, for some of us, it can't come too soon.
I've about had it, so...
will Don know how to edit this and upload it?
You think I'm joking, but... no, I totally lost my train of thought. I mean, the monster has been pretty much shown to be indestructible.
Okay.
Or unkillable, or whatever. I mean, he takes 6 bullets in his heart, and he still lives.
Bullets in his heart, sulfur pit.
The sulfur pit.
The fucking watchtower fell on him.
Burned to death in a windmill, but not.
Yep. Yeah, I guess he did.
And he's taken quite a few gunshot wounds, and
that's true. People shot at him and beat the crap out of him. Yep. Soporific gas didn't kill him. Of course, didn't kill anybody. It's not supposed to. Didn't do Kettering any good, but I guess I couldn't say.
Well, that's just Kettering.
Kettering doesn't even have a first name.
Yeah.
Some people are just born to be B characters in other people's lives.
Exactly.
What's your name? I don't know. Kettering.
Dr. Kettering. That's all I got.
The other thing
one way I was going to mention that the flipping the script works is that it gives us just a little bit more Lionel Atwill.
Absolutely. I would agree.
Any Lionel Atwill is good for me.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And his role in this film is such an interesting one. And he, if you've been watching it minute by minute with us, if you haven't seen the film, I don't know what to do with you. But maybe you would think he's not a very interesting character because he hasn't done anything all that super interesting yet. Although he did have that one monologue that
with Kettering.
Characters in these types of films don't get.
Yeah.
So we do know he's a person because he said some things that were things a person might say.
He had some
thoughts and feelings,
inner life.
He's got an actual character.
Yeah.
So yes, agreed. And here it adds to that because he's clearly he's got an opinion. He's taking an opinion opposite Thank you. Ludwig, who, so 2 minutes ago it was, I must find a way. Mm-hmm. And my assumption is what he has found is this, dissection. That will solve everything.
There is a way. Go. You do it better than I do.
What am I doing?
The lines, there is a way.
There is a way.
Made limb by limb.
He was made limb by limb, organ by organ, fingernail by fingernail. He must be unmade in the same way.
Dissection?
Dissection. Yes. He must be unweighed in the... Something about my father.
No, not yet.
Unmade in the same way. Dissection? He does this now.
Yeah.
Bit by bit, piece by piece.
Inch by inch, step
limb by limb, step by step.
Niagara Falls!
What is that from?
Oh, God. What is it not from?
Oh, that's right. It's from a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
Where is it originally from?
Burlesque.
I thought that's Three Stooges maybe
did it. Three Stooges do it. Yeah, everybody at one point.
Just as my father created it.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that some people have never seen or even heard of the monster. Some people just know everything about the monster.
Everything there is to know about it.
Ludwig assumes Bomer knows what's going on, right?
Don't you know?
The way my father created it. Don't look so surprised.
Duh.
My father.
Yeah, but this thing lives. It would be murder.
Actually, he says, what? And then he kind of looks at it, because Jackie mocked him. He's like, what? But it's like, when you watch it, it's actually really, it's another great Atwill thing that he does. Yeah. Because one of the problems I have with Hardwick generally, and this isn't quite true, but it's almost as if he's just reading the script. And Atwill just doesn't do that.
No.
When he's got to say, but this thing lives, he goes, what? And he turns and looks it over quickly, like, but this thing lives. He says but a couple times and stammers. Yeah, it's awesome. I don't know why that's so important to me, because it's so the acting is so bad in this film.
Because Atwill is acting at another level than
than Hardwick, who's just waiting to talk.
Yeah.
Much like me on this podcast, just waiting, not listening, just waiting to talk.
How can you call the removal of a thing that is not human murder?
This is what he comes up with. The removal of a thing.
Removal of a thing.
He's equating this dissection of the monster with taking off his sock.
Can you get rid of that bag of trash that's been sitting around?
It's removal. Remove this trash, taking off my socks, or going bareback. It's the removal of a thing. Yeah. Okay, that didn't work. Maybe that's the kids are out of the room.
Yeah, hopefully.
Daddy, what does It doesn't matter. Is he wrong?
Bomer?
No, the removal of a thing guy. By definition, murder is
wrong.
Killing someone.
He's just
an asshole.
No,
that could be.
I don't know. They both have a point.
And I think part of it is, by definition, murder is killing someone who is a human. Yeah. That's the definition. We can talk about whether meat is murder with Morrissey.
Yeah.
What was the quote I saw the other day that I thought was so funny? Do you know Morrissey? That
yes.
Meat is murder.
Yeah.
Do you know Robert Smith from The Cure?
Yeah.
Apparently the quote I saw, and I don't have any idea if it's true, is if Morrissey tells me meat is murder, that just makes me want to eat meat because Morrissey's an asshole.
Yeah.
And I don't know when he said it, but it's certainly true today.
It's absolutely.
Anyways, the other thing about it is there's two parts to it. So the definition is murder by definition is the killing of a human, but the other problem is the monster human? Well, and if not, why not?
You've said it before, the movie is not smart enough to explore these things.
But the other movies have been.
That's
what Frankenstein's about.
Yeah. Is it human? It comes down to the it or him.
And they do it here
as well.
All left and right. They're going he and it.
It's very inconsistent.
He just said this thing lives.
Yeah. It's very.
But I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you. But when he was talking to Elsa earlier, I noticed he said he. So it's bizarre.
See, it's very inconsistent throughout the whole series.
Yeah.
And I wish there was more thought put into it.
Yeah.
Certainly in Frankenstein, I wish it had been written so that everybody else says it and Henry says he.
Or
him,
if there was some,
if there's some consistency to it. Because they say both throughout.
Yeah. It's weird because in our lives, we can talk to people or parrots. I guess you can also talk to computers now. So maybe that is.
I can talk to my phone and it'll talk back.
That's a really good point. Yeah. You can ask your phone about stuff and it'll give you all kinds of information that'll get you kicked off of YouTube. Anyway,
so now I'm gonna have to just blank out the word twice.
Could be. Well, maybe it's just time that we get kicked off of YouTube. I wish you could get like a grace period. Can I mention stuff once a year. But it's like 3 strikes and you're out. We've already had 2.
We had 2.
All right. Why doesn't Junior qualify as a human?
He just said it was made piece by piece, bit by bit,
Organ by organ,
step by step, inch by inch.
Inch by inch.
So it was brought to life artificially. Again, it's the whole defying God, I guess, if you want to go that route.
When does dissection become immoral? I suppose always is.
Anytime.
Okay.
I mean,
but if I cut one of your toes off.
Unless the thing you're dissecting is already dead, then it's
And in
not.
this case, that's arguably...
Yeah, I mean, they're good. And then we get back to the 2 sides of the argument.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're killing something to dissect it, yeah, I think that's immoral.
Yeah.
You know, we had to dissect fetal pigs in biology class in high school, and I said, no, I won't do that.
Because they were killed in order for you to do
they were killed in order for me to cut it apart.
Did you ever see the movie E.T.?
Yeah.
Don't they
wanna
kill the frogs? They're alive, and then he
Yeah.
sets them free?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
I don't agree with it. I certainly don't agree with vivisection or any of that either.
I'll say this.
Testing on animals.
I'll say this. Yeah, no, that's true.
So I would tend to side with Bomer here if I had to come down to it.
I would ultimately do the same only because Ludwig's such a dick. He's
well,
like,
there's that
how
too,
can you
but-
call the removal of a thing that is not human murder? Well, that's a dickish way to say it. That makes
Yeah.
me want to argue with you.
Yeah.
It makes me want to disagree with you.
Yeah.
You know, try to convince me. Try not to be a dick,
Yeah.
Ludwig. There you go. That's my note
That's what it got?
to Ludwig.
Oh, okay. And then Bomer, is almost aghast by this and shakes his head. And I regret, Doctor, I cannot be part of your plan. This is too much for even Bomer
Yeah.
to do.
Now, going minute by minute, you say even Bomer, but at this point, Bomer is a guy who's got a bit of an embarrassing thing that happened in his past, and a reasonable dislike or distaste for Ludwig, a guy we don't care for either.
Right.
So when you say even Bomer, at this point,
it's
listeners should be aware.
And it's,
Bomer's got an arc.
maybe because it's Lionel Atwill.
Yeah.
You have that sinister connotation as well.
Yeah, that is funny.
He
that
didn't usually play nice guys.
Yeah, Atwill, who was tremendous for all of last season as an unabashed hero, right?
Yeah,
right.
basically,
Unabashed isn't the word I'm looking for.
Unimpeachable.
Unimpeachable. I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but
he
not true here.
No.
But so far we haven't seen anything. So,
No, we haven't. We haven't.
Yeah.
But there's inferences that something he did in the past didn't turn out
May
the
have
way-
been questionable,
May have been
yeah.
questionable.
Yeah, that's a good point. We don't really know what happened, but we can guess, and it sounds like it was morally questionable.
Yeah.
And his whole, but this thing lives, is a little bit rich coming from
this
him,
guy,
from this
from
fucking
this clown.
guy. All right, I gotta mention during this entire conversation, no one makes any move whatsoever to restrain the monster.
Yeah.
The restraints are busted.
Yeah.
The-
He's
like
just
so,
lying.
I can be prone to panic maybe under certain circumstances, but it seems to me that the discussion of how to move forward with whatever it is they're talking about
That can
should wait.
It can wait a
because
few
you not
minutes.
only got 2 busted restraints, but you've clearly got restraints that can be busted.
Busted.
You've actually got nothing.
Yeah.
The monster could wake up immediately and
Yeah,
bust through
bust
that.
right
It's
through
actually easier to bust out of the third restraint.
Well,
He
he's
was on
got-
the verge of coming loose.
Doesn't he have 2 around his legs too?
Well, what I mean is he's got 5 and he's got 2 down. So the
two-
third
yeah,
one
third
should
one
be even
should-
easier
yeah.
than the first one.
Yeah.
The first one's the hard one.
Yeah.
And that one's gone.
Yeah.
So if he wakes up, we're back
everybody's-
where we started,
Yeah.
and no one seems to care.
Yeah, no.
But I just thought I'd point that out to anybody in the scene that might be listening.
I've thought that, not watching it minute by minute, but certainly watching the film
Yes.
by
yeah.
as it is. Yeah. I've
Yeah,
thought
you're like,
that. But
Is this the time for a conversation?
Cue
We
the
might have
music.
run out.
Got any more questions, wise ass?
That can only mean one thing. The music is back, and I think we've run out of comments.
Okay.
Shoot, I think I might have used up
You
most of the
shot
comments.
your wad early.
So
is
we
what
did
you're
that
saying.
one. Well, I'm not saying that, but I understand. That one happened. Okay, then we might have one. We might have a couple.
Okay.
All right. I can't imagine what this is in response to.
Well, it's a puzzle then. It's
I don't care. We're just gonna do it. You know
Okay.
what? Let me make sure first of all. So make sure that we don't have any wise ass comments, because I don't think we do.
okay.
but maybe we
This
do.
minute was so uninteresting.
That's
Nobody
true.
had anything to say.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. Maybe the podcast is so
Well, that's-
interesting that people
that's-
are any thoughts they have, that people are more likely to keep it to themselves. Yep, no comments on this
Okay,
one. So I will
all right.
go with this comment from Mike
Okay.
Herman, and I have no idea what it's in response to.
Okay.
With better writing, okay, so that's a good way
good-
to start.
good
I think
start.
we'll probably agree with Mike on this one.
Yeah.
With better writing, I think the plot thread of the monster becoming disillusioned with Igor would have been very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
You guys mentioned that there are little seeds of that here and there, and I've noticed them too.
Mm-hmm.
There's more to come, actually. There's one that I mentioned that I thought was coming up more quickly than it is. It comes up a little bit
it's
later.
A ways off,
But we're halfway through this thing, so we're steamrolling right to the end.
Yep.
It's a character arc for our main character who doesn't have one. It's a character arc for our main character who doesn't have
Who
one. Does
doesn't
that
have a
mean
character or an arc?
I honestly don't know if he means the monster or Igor.
I assume the monster.
Probably the monster, yeah. He doesn't have a character arc. Yeah, all right, that makes sense. And I think Lugosi playing a vulnerable Igor whose cunning isn't working for him would have been fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really like what we get with Igor, and I like his ending, which we get in this film. It's a
Right.
conclusive ending. In
Sort
some
of,
ways,
sort of.
you could argue we don't get. You could argue the exact opposite of everything I just said.
Well, we have talked about how Igor is a much weaker character in this film than he was in Son.
That's true.
Far less cunning, far less sneaky. You know?
I would say that's a pretty high bar. Personally, Igor in Son of Frankenstein is probably my favorite character in the whole series.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
Okay. I'm going with Pretorius, but yeah, okay.
I might like Igor better than Pretorius in some ways.
Okay.
But yeah.
I know, like Barsky does, and that's
Nah,
fine.
Pretorius is. I probably should. Yeah, you're probably right. Pretorius. I thought you were going to say the monster actually in the first one.
Well,
maybe.
in the first and second one, yeah.
Yeah, but Pretorius is a delightful character.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if I can separate that from the actor either though. So it's like when he's in Old Dark House, he's great. You know what I mean? When he's in The Ghoul, he's great.
Yeah.
Whereas Lugosi's not always
Not
great.
always great. Yeah.
And so, just to recap, to sort of go back to what conversation we were having that Mike's responding to, that we absolutely do get evidence that the monster doesn't feel as blindly
Beholden,
obedient
yeah.
to Igor, and therefore, presumably, some of the luster has worn off. Maybe he's finally gotten a good look at him. I don't know.
The bloom is off the rose in this relationship.
Which is funny because he's had all this work done, right? He got the hump taken out.
Yeah,
He cleaned up a little
he's
bit.
really
got his teeth
making
fixed.
an effort to be a better Igor. It's just lost on
It's
Junior.
lost on Junior. He has
Yeah.
no idea. He's like,
doesn't care.
I want my ball. Where's the ball? Classic Horror Film Board, Dr. Alex Zorka. I was hoping you boys would talk a little about Barton Yarborough. William Barton Yarborough.
I did. When he first appeared, I went through his career.
Never had much of a film career, but he did a tremendous amount of radio work. I believe he was on Jack Webb's Dragnet radio show for a recurring role for years. He did a lot of work for Carlton Morse, for his soap opera-like show called One Man's Family, and old-time radio fans would probably know him best as Doc Long, one of the 3 private detectives from the creepy, serialized adventures of I Love a Mystery that was on radio for several years. He had a great voice for radio. I think that he's in all 3 film versions of the I Love a Mystery radio shows that Columbia Pictures produced in the middle 40s. He says, I haven't been able to see the 3rd film. Not a bad movie actor by any means, but he was in big demand on radio back in the day.
Okay, well, good. And radio is not my area of expertise.
Yeah, because when I was a kid, I really liked old-time radio, but it was harder to come by.
Yeah.
You'd hear it on the radio. They would play old radio shows.
Yeah,
on
they
that I
would. They
hear.
would do they had the CBS mystery. What was it called? E.G. Marshall hosted it, and it was on like once a week. And
when we were kids.
yeah,
And then they
well, when
would
I was a
show-
kid. When I was a kid, anyway.
Okay. And
I don't know
then-
how long. I don't remember how long it lasted.
But the point is, they were playing old radio shows then.
well,
They were replaying.
that was current.
That was current.
That was
because
new.
I mean,
But
old
yes,
radio shows.
yes, you could
Like,
get
I knew-
some. You could get some from the library, and I
Yeah,
would.
and my mom was a librarian, so we'd totally get the tapes. I remember those tapes, old time radio, and I'd listen to all of them.
LPs as well.
Yeah, probably.
Because
But
I have some. I have a 3-disc set, disc being LPs,
LPs.
vinyl, of Marx Brothers radio appearances.
You do?
I do, and I have several Spike Jones radio shows.
Wow, cool.
I've got a ton of Goon Show.
Nice. Have you listened to it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have it, and I don't listen to it. I should listen to it.
Oh, the Goon Show? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a big part of... Because when I'm
it's
not
a big
talking
part
about
of
Frankenstein...
What became Monty Python. Yeah.
I was going to say, when I'm not talking about Frankenstein, I'm usually watching the Beatles, stuff about the Beatles, or Monty Python, and...
Both of whom were hugely...
Yeah, John Lennon's favorite show, and yeah. So anyways, my point is, I like this...
George Martin... produced a lot of Goon Show stuff.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that attracted the Beatles to him, I believe.
That's true. Everything you just said is true. The only caveat I'd give is when you go back to actually find out what George Martin did, it was always not the best stuff.
Okay.
Like he had Peter Sellers and Spike Milligan in the studio and still managed to do something mediocre. Okay. But whatever. You're right, though. Okay. That wasn't the point. When they walked in the studio and he said he worked with them, they were in awe. Yeah, absolutely. And so then there's that, but there's also the fact that I just talked about loving old-time radio, and I went through a period of time where I tried to listen to a lot of those Basil Rathbone, Nigel Bruce, Sherlock Holmes radio shows. I think those are a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've only heard a handful.
And I've dipped my toe into some of the other ones too, because Sherlock Holmes on the radio has been going on forever.
Yeah.
But also, what's funny is that series... Rathbone leaves after only doing like 1,000 of them, and Bruce stays on with a new guy.
Oh yeah.
And then after a while, Bruce leaves. I can't remember. Okay. And then they replace him. So it takes a while for you to get to the point where it's two new guys.
Yeah.
But it's great because there's all those movies of Bathrobe and
Roos.
Yeah, and Roos. And then you get them on the radio, and they're exactly the same, of course, as you would expect.
Right.
But it's just more, right? Yeah. Because you get I don't know, what are they, 40 minutes maybe or something like that. So there's tons of them, tons of old radio that I love. And then
they're probably shorter than that, because oftentimes
they might be. Yeah, they may be they're 25 minutes.
A half-hour show plus.
And it's
ads.
not like they're doing even the short stories, right? They do. Like if you look at the titles, you'd be like, oh, this is the title of an actual Sir Arthur Conan Doyle story, but it has almost nothing to do with it.
Yes.
No, the short stories. The novels, usually they do the novels, actually. Hound of the Baskervilles is a pretty consistent. The radio version, the film version.
Every time you do a Sherlock
Every time
Holmes,
you do it, it's on the list of things you got to do.
Obligated to do Hound of the Baskervilles.
Yeah. I like the way the guy who played Poirot did his thing. You remember the Poirot show? Yeah. They did all the stories, and they're often faithful adaptations, and they're often not. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the last ones he did was Orient Express. It's like it's on the list. It's got to happen.
Yeah.
But he was doing that role for decades before he finally finished and did that one. Suchet, David Suchet?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. He was on Doctor Who once. Good, I got a Doctor Who in every episode.
Snip, snip.
And a final note, as you guys note, nobody will know who did it? Really? Not like Igor to panic so easily, although he's had a rough day with the monster, no doubt. That's a really good way of putting that.
Yeah.
That's a panicked moment, like, oh, come away. He really does seem... He's lost it, Igor, at that point. And when we next see him, he'd be all better. I suspect we'll see the same... Igor will be back to his tricks.
Back to his old tricks.
Back up to his old...
shenanigans.
Hey, how old do you think I am really? Am I like 181? I can't even think of a fucking phrase. Don't forget, Wise Ass, or whatever we're calling it, is brought to you by Patreon.com. Patreon.com/Frankenstein Minute is where you go and become a Patreon. And then you can support your favorite show.
Just that easy. What are the levels, Bill?
You can support your favorite show, or if you don't want to do that, you can support our show at the $2 level, which is called Friend. That way you are a friend of the podcast, and you get every episode a day early, and you get additional bonus content that hardly anybody seems to listen to or want to even acknowledge.
Stellar Curse of Frankenstein commentary that
I liked the Curse of Frankenstein commentary. So if anybody wants to listen
to it?
No, I was there. I just liked it when we were doing it. I thought
I have to say, when I edited it, I just did the bookends and skipped over the movie parts. So
you haven't even heard it?
I don't know what we say.
My memory was probably fine.
Yeah.
There was a dog that was really giving me a lot of affection during it, which I thought was charming.
Yeah.
And there's an additional level called Wise Ass, wherein you get everything the friend level gets, plus you get the opportunity. We send out a copy of the minute via electronic email, or you can view it on the Patreon website.
Just by saying email, it's inferred that it's electronic.
Electronic email?
The E in email it's like saying your PIN number.
You're probably right, but I wonder if...
Because it's electronic mail is what email.
Well, a lot of things would be, like they have e-cigarettes. What does that even mean?
It's electronic.
Oh, I guess you're right. What is there's something I was thinking of that said E, and I don't, maybe you're right. Maybe E is always electronic. All right.
What does the I in iPhone or iPad stand for?
No idea.
Yeah, okay.
I-electronic?
If you know, send a postcard too.
You write it down on a piece of paper and stick it up your ass. And at the wise ass level, we'll send out the minutes before we record. And as you can see, we will read your comment out, no matter how profane,
we
disturbing.
We don't shy away.
Legally or morally questionable.
From the hard-hitting questions.
Like, what a bad angle looking up that guy's nose. Mm-hmm. Or as for this week, nothing at all.
So you paid your $5 for nothing.
You know, since I still see the little thingies going.
Yeah.
You know, any feedback you have on that, I've been thinking, I actually put them out a day earlier than usual. So like I developed a pattern of doing, because we record 5 episodes. I'm sorry, we record 5 episodes when we get together.
Yeah.
And today is Saturday. We always do Saturdays. We don't have to, but we do. And so I tend to do Monday is episode 1, Tuesday is episode 2. Well, this time I did each back one. So I thought maybe we'll get more comments if people have more than one day.
Oh.
But I don't think that really matters, because what's happening is you're getting 5 emails in 5 days.
Yeah.
And maybe if you're Mike Herman or Sean or some of our more consistent repliers, you're like, oh, I got to remember to do that. But it's work.
Yeah.
And so if you've got any feedback for me on that, if you'd like me to send it out every week, not going to do it. But if you want, I don't know, every 2 days, I don't know. Is there any way?
Less frequent, more frequent? Yeah.
Would it help if I send it out and then send a reminder? Mm-hmm. Well, that I could do actually. Like, so if we're recording on a Saturday, maybe I'll do what I did this time, but I'll do Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and on Friday a reminder.
A reminder. Or
I'll do that.
Maybe Saturday. Wait a day.
Well, then it's too late.
Oh, you're saying the week we record?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I mean. I do it all leading up to the week we record because I have thought we could go back. We could go back even further, but then then it gets weird. Then the overlap is weird. How are you listening to this podcast then?
Yeah.
You're going to listen to episode 29, and while I send you an email about episode 40.
Yeah.
You know, at some point it all starts to fall apart.
No, that makes sense.
Basically, what I'm saying to our listeners is, if you have any suggestions for how to do our podcast,
how to do our job better,
send them in.